In September 2017, Hurricane Irma affected the lives of people in the Caribbean, Puerto Rico, Cuba, Florida, and more. For Dr. Christopher Forsee, the pain of Irma extended well after the storm had passed.
I own a private practice, and it's comprehensive family dentistry. I think it's over a lifetime of abuse. I've had a previous back surgery about 6 years ago, and the visit to Bonati it stemmed from Hurricane Irma cleanup. It had an incident, lift the wrong thing the wrong way. You know, most of us think we can be 18 forever, and it doesn't work out that way.
He described his symptoms and the limitations that developed over time.
The pains that started generally was kind of isolated to the back. Over the next several months, it started translating down the hip, back through the right side of my buttock, down the leg, to the outside of my leg, all the way across the top of my foot. I had some numbness with it. And then the neurological symptom that I had, I could not control the foot, lifting of the foot. So when I walked, the foot would drop. Getting up in the morning, really difficult. I have not been sleeping in my bed, sleeping in the floor, flat with my feet elevated on the couch. That's where I slept every night for 2-3 hours a night. I could not sleep. The pain was so intense it wakes you up. And then I'd get up and walk. And then once I got going, I'd get to the office and try to move through the day as best I could.
Dr. Forsee looked into natural remedies to treat his pain.
I have a very close friend who's a chiropractor, and starting with the initial injury in September of last year, he did a few adjustments, maybe half a dozen or so. They would help, but it would not, it would come back in a day or two. It just never would completely resolve. He had me, he would give me a stem unit on weekends, and I used that with mild success, and between that and just the anti-inflammatory agents, and then diet. I'm big on eating and consuming non-inflammatory food, staying away from the pro-inflammatory side of things. And if I ate something wrong, it was immediately noticed. The pain intensified.
Once he could no longer live with his pain, he began a search for a physician who could help.
You'd watch a television and then you'd see the Bonati Spine Institute on a commercial. And I'd seen a number of the bio-spine people and the laser spine people and all, those kinds of things. And my chiropractic friend that I was seeing, I asked him, I said, have you ever had anybody use these minimally invasive techniques? And he said, yeah. He said, with really great success. He said, a lot of them have gone to the Bonati Institute. And I said, okay, yeah. I said, I've seen those on television. The Laser Spine Institute, I talked to a number of patients that had actually been there and they hadn't had really good results. But 100% of the people that I had asked questions about that have been here, everybody had positive things to say. And so my research basically, I ended up kind of understanding that Dr. Bonati he was the pioneer. He was the guy that created the procedure. And so in my mind, it was why go to somebody else when I can go to somebody that has been doing more of it in a longer period of time than anybody that's out there.
After deciding to contact the Bonati Spine Institute, Dr. Forsee spoke with the patient advocate, Jenna, who arranged his in-person consultation and evaluation.
Getting here, he came into the room, Dr. Bonati himself, did the consultation. He said, from what your injuries are, from what I'm seeing on the MRI, he went screen by screen through everything, and he said, the pain is here, 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 and here, and here. He said, is that where your pain is? And I said, that's exactly where it is. He knew exactly. His experience level with his diagnostic abilities are unreal.
The patented Bonati spine procedures are performed using conscious IV sedation. Dr. Forsee explains how this technique works, why it is so important in ensuring pain relief, and the personal benefit for patients.
The day of surgery, I got here, and John, the OR nurse, the head OR nurse, came in and he started explaining the procedure to me, and through conscious sedation. He said, now when we get the surgical instruments placed, because they use something called a Bonati tube, and the Bonati tube is inserted to the damaged area, and it allows the doctors to have access to the damage. And he said, once we get the instrumentation placed, we'll wake you up. And then he says, and he starts talking about me being the navigator of pain. And that was interesting. The objective with conscious sedation is to keep you somewhat awake and aware of what's going on. So they coached me in saying my words, that it used one word, whether the pain is in back, hip, leg. They want to know exactly when they work in an area, they want to know exactly where you feel it. And that is just so they make sure, they ensure that they get your pain dealt with. And that's the absolute importance of doing this procedure under conscious sedation instead of general sedation. During the surgery, they actually have a screen. You're laying face down on the table, of course, with access to the spine, but they have an opening for your face, and there's a screen on the floor. And you can visually see what the doctors are doing. It's exactly what they're seeing, and they will tell you what's going on. Absolutely phenomenal. And that's when they told me, they said, well, you're going to feel here, you're going to have this experience, or you're going to have this sensation. You knew exactly when it was coming.
Just like our surgical guest, caregivers and loved ones of the patients are treated with the utmost respect at the Bonati Spine Institute. They are welcome to accompany our surgical guests throughout their entire Bonati experience. Some even decide to go into the operating room.
Dr. Bonati, at the initial consultation visit, when he came in to do the MRI consultation with me and go over the level of my injury procedure that he'd be doing, my wife was in the room, and he looks at my wife at the end of this end of this consultation, and he says, "So you're coming with him, right?" And she said, "Yes, I'll be bringing him." He looks at her and he says, "No, you're coming with him in the OR." And she says, "What?" And I said, "Oh no." I said, "Doc, you're going to have two patients instead of one if she comes in." And so I looked at him and I said, "So you're okay with having someone in the OR observing?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Well," I have two kids that would absolutely, love the opportunity to be a part of this. My wife and I talked about this. There's nothing to hide. There's no smoke, there's no mirrors. He welcomes people, watch what I do. This is what I do. And people like me that sit here and tell people the results of this procedure are outstanding. I mean, and his willingness his response was, "Sure, bring him. I have to educate the next generation."
Though it was only one day after his procedure when he sat down with us, Dr. Forsee is pain-free and ready to live the good life once again.
From day one, experience for me at the Bonati Spine Institute has exceeded all expectation here. From the initial phone call, follow-up, scheduling, the greeters, every single aspect along the way has been seamless. Everybody has showed the highest level of compassion. I can't say anything negative about this place. Anybody that has pain, it's living in pain, doubts, fears, anxiety from surgery, from a procedure, don't live in pain. Consult these people. This is an outstanding group of people, very well educated and compassionate and passionate about what they do in delivering, a pain-free lifestyle. Return to what you do, and that's the end result. Is live with pain or live a good life, and that's what I chose. So here I am.